And if this is going to be a multiple week thing, not missing out on Anthony Davis, missing out on LeBron, they can just drop out of the top four. I mean, it's very, very close out there in the West. Hello and welcome to the Monday, March 22nd edition of the TV on Basketball podcast with your host, TV. Hope you're all having a fantastic day, and thank you for clicking on to watch or listen to today's episode. Before we start, I have to plug my other platforms. Remember to follow at TV on Basketball on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for updates on the podcast and for other awesome content. If you're on YouTube, remember to like, share, and subscribe. That would be highly appreciated. And for all my podcast listeners, remember to subscribe, leave a review if you're on Apple, and send me a DM so I can give you a shout out. As for the Spotify, Anchor, or Podbean listeners, continue to show your support in any way you can. I really do appreciate all of you guys. We are almost at 2,600 downloads on the podcast, so thank you so much for all your support. And we have a great episode lined up for you guys here today. We're going to be talking about some major injury news that have happened, that have occurred over the weekend. We're going to talk a lot about the Raptors today in this episode, talking about the Houston struggles. Obviously, we're going to get into the TV's power rankings for sure. And we're going to be doing, talking about the pick of the week. And I've been kind of rough on that because I've lost my last two games, but it is what it is. But yeah, action-packed episode. Again, thank you guys for all your support. And yeah, excited for more basketball. Trade deadline is coming up this week. So there's going to be an awesome episode coming to you guys on Friday. But that's in the future. Let's focus on today, and let's get into this episode. And of course, the first thing we are going to get into is the major news from the weekend. LeBron James is out indefinitely due to a right high ankle sprain. How the play happened was basically it was a loose ball. LeBron got to it, but the Hawks player was trying to make a play on the ball. I don't think there was any dirty intent or anything. Watching the clip probably tens of hundreds of times already. I don't think there was any dirty intent to it. But the Hawks player rolled onto LeBron's ankle. And by roll, I mean literally roll. I mean, he was on the floor and he kind of rolled onto it. And yeah, it kind of looked bad. It really looked bad. And we didn't want to expect the worst, but at the time, like when I was seeing it like happening, there was definitely a chance that it could have been a very bad situation for LeBron there. So he had to leave the game. Obviously, he didn't return for the rest of the game. They ended up losing that game to the Hawks, I believe, 99-80 to 94. But he got an MRI after the game. They said there was no structural damage, so that's pretty good. But a right ankle sprain, they say he's out indefinitely, and that basically means for at least 2 weeks until they reevaluate him. All I gotta say about LeBron James at the moment is, look. LeBron, he is still the best player in basketball. I am willing to say that right here, right now. He is still one of the best players in basketball. But he's just playing way, way, way too many minutes so far this season. He is up there, still in the top 10. I mean, I don't think he's missed. I think he only missed 1 or 2 games because of rest this year. And this year, man, I mean, he's averaging 34 minutes per game, which is, I believe, way, way too much. Especially in the regular season, especially because of the shortened off season, he is he's just playing too many minutes. And with him, he said he wants to play the whole season and all that. I think he's still trying to catch Michael Jordan and stats and stuff like that. But this type of stuff happens, and this is why you don't want to go kind of full throttle with LeBron just yet. Especially with Anthony Davis being out this last month or so. Losing LeBron is a very, very tough loss. Now, Anthony Davis is getting reevaluated this week, so hopefully they have at least one of them on the court. But at the same time, Anthony Davis' status is always uncertain. You have to always remember that. And if this is going to be a multiple week thing, not missing out on Anthony Davis, missing out on LeBron, they can just drop out of the top four. I mean, it's very, very close out there in the West. And I think there's only 4 games separating number 2. There's 6 games separating number 2 and number 6, or number 8. This is how close the race is in the West right now. And there are a lot of good teams. They're gonna have a tough schedule. I know they have to face, I believe, the Philadelphia 76ers to end the month, which is actually not too bad without Joel Embiid. But they have to face the 76ers. They have to face the Milwaukee Bucks on the 31st. And like I said, if this is going to be a multiple week thing, especially with the desperation in the other teams in the West, it could very well be the Lakers outside of the top four. And I know it's not going to matter too much, especially this year, where home court advantage is going to be very minimal, in my opinion. But it's still home court advantage in general, and I think they would have liked to have something like that at least in the first round. But honestly, in all honesty, even though they are missing LeBron, they are missing AD at the moment. As long as those two guys are healthy, come playoff time, they should be fine. They should be 100% fine. They do have a better supporting cast than they did last year. I don't know, the record may argue that maybe it's only a regular season thing because Dennis Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell are pretty good regular season players, if I do say so myself. But can this carry over to the playoffs? Are they going to miss the presence of a Dwight Howard? Are they going to miss the presence of Rajon Rondo? But that's something we have to wait and see for. But as long as they have Anthony Davis, as long as they have LeBron James, I see them as one of the favorites, if not the favorite in the West. And honestly, that's all they have to focus on is getting these guys healthy, getting them to the playoffs, and making sure that they're in game shape to be ready to face off against some of these juggernauts in the West, with the streaking Jazz, these new look Suns, the Clippers, even the Denver Nuggets, who are starting to pick things up right now. The Trailblazers, there are a lot of dangerous teams out in the West, and without one or the other, whether you have Anthony Davis and no LeBron, or LeBron with no Anthony Davis, it's going to be a rough road. It's going to be a tough road, and at least maybe this is a blessing in disguise. Maybe this is, but they just got to get them healthy. They 100% just need to get these guys healthy. And we're going to have to wait and see if that is going to be a possibility. So yeah, LeBron's out for a couple weeks. Let's hope he gets better. And we're going to have to see how the Lakers, just keep their head above water, at least for the time being. And hopefully Anthony Davis does come back this week. Now that wasn't the only injury that happened this weekend. Oh man, it's been a rough weekend for injuries. LaMelo Ball is going to miss out on the rest of the season due to a fractured right wrist that he suffered in yesterday's game for the Hornets, which, oh man, is rough. Absolutely rough news for the Hornets fans out there. LaMelo Ball, I think he is the clear-cut Rookie of the Year at the very moment. And his rookie season has been cut short due to a fracture, which is rough. And like I've been saying throughout the entire season, he is the life of the Charlotte Hornets. He made them watchable. He made them must-watch. And now they're going to miss him for the rest of the season, 41 games this year. He's averaged 15.9 points, 5.9 rebounds, 6 assists. And what's sad about this is even though he's played 41 games and it is a 72-game season, he's probably going to miss out on a Rookie of the Year, which is highly, highly unfortunate. And Joe Russell, if I know he's not listening to this, but have some, you got to chill, man. You just got to chill. Literally, after the injury happened, he tweeted out, Ant-Man is the Rookie of the Year now. And I'm like, come on. Not after the guy got injured. No. That ain't right. It's kind of classless, but, that's deal for you. But, yeah, I mean, this is going to definitely hamper the Hornets' chances of making the playoffs. One of their best players, arguably their second or third best player, whether you want to put Terry Rozier ahead of him or him ahead of Terry Rozier, it doesn't really matter. But they're going to miss him. They're 100% going to miss him. The way he rebounds the basketball, I believe he is second in the team in rebounds. One of their best playmakers on the team. And he gives them a lot of offense. He does so much on the offensive end. And the Hornets are going to miss that. They're going to miss that a lot. And look, maybe they're going to look at this and say, look, we know what we have in LaMelo Ball now, which is very, very good. But maybe we can start, not really tanking. I mean, they're still going to try to make the playoffs. But at least maybe we can look forward to the draft and see what pieces fit around LaMelo and stuff like that. So at least they have something there. And I think that's what the Hornets just want to see all season, is that what do we have in this team going forward. I like the way that Terry Rozier plays with them. LaMelo is going to be a star in the making. PJ Washington has his moments, and I think with time and with chemistry with this team that he can really fit in. Devontae Graham, I still think they're kind of iffy on, but having Miles Bridges as well, I think they're really just a center away from maybe like just getting that core nucleus like under control, and I think that's something that they need to look to in the offseason, you know. But at the end of the day, this injury is rough. I think the Hornets want to see how this team would do in the playoffs. I think the whole NBA wants to see what LaMelo could do in the playoffs, 100%. But these things happen. These things happen. And yeah, he's out with injury, which is really, really rough. But the Hornets need to protect their future. They need to protect their future. This wasn't a ride or die season. This was something like, oh, we have to make the playoffs or else, we have to blow up this team. No, no, no. This team is built for the next 5 to 10 years. And they just need to protect it. And I know LaMelo Ball is going to work hard. He's going to come back and hopefully be better than ever because he at least knows kind of the style of the NBA so far. And the Hornets are going to continue to give him all the opportunities in the world. So hopefully he comes back healthy next year. I want to see him back on the court, keep entertaining us as fans, and, maybe bring back some relevance to Charlotte. So yeah, it's just a rough injury. But I think Hornets fans and I think a lot of the NBA is seeing this Hornets team and saying, look, these guys got something here. And the Hornets, hopefully, they don't waste it. Yeah, so let's move on to the next topic. And I'm going to be talking about the Raptors. And yeah, there's going to be some rough talk with the Raptors. But I'm going to save that for after this because there's something that I want to talk about, which I didn't get to a couple weeks ago when it was announced. But I think because they released the news literally after the podcast. So if it happened like the day before, I would have definitely talked about it. But now it's a good time to talk about it because it is happening this week. For the first time in NBA history, we're going to have an all-women's broadcast, which is absolutely fantastic. And the Raptors are going to be participating in it in their game versus the Denver Nuggets this Wednesday. They announced this on International Women's Day, which I believe was 2 weeks ago to this day. And like I said, I would have talked about it in that episode, but unfortunately, the news came out afterwards. But I think this is still a good time because it is happening this Wednesday. So if you have the chance, if you have League Pass, try to check out the TSN broadcast because it's history being made, man. It's history being made, and I'm very, very happy that this is happening. They got 5 fantastic women on the broadcast. The 2 commentators we're going to have is Megan McPeak on play-by-play. She actually calls games for the WNBA team Washington Mystics, and she also is one of the commentators for the Wizards G League team, which is really, really interesting. She's also a Canadian broadcaster, which is awesome, and she's going to be doing the play-by-play for this game. We got Kia Nurse also on the call with the analysis, kind of doing the Jack Armstrong role, the Leo Rounds role. If you are a Raptor fan, you know what I mean. They just do the analysis. And man, she's a TSN broadcaster. They brought her on as one of the hosts of the halftime show and the pregame show. She has so much good analysis. She knows really what she's talking about. And she's actually a current and WNBA player, which is awesome. Plays for the Phoenix Mercury, who acquired Nurse actually this past February in a 3-team blockbuster deal, which is fantastic. But she got drafted by the New York Liberty, was an all-star starter in 2019, averaging almost 14 points per game, averaging almost 12 points a game in her career. She is a very good player in the WNBA. Hopefully she's just getting better and just getting more opportunities with the Liberty as well. So yeah, she's on the call for analysis. The sideline reporter for this game is going to be Kayla Gray. And if you're a Raptors fan, you know about Kayla Gray. She's done stuff for SportsCenter, done a lot of stuff for the Raptors as a sideline reporter as well. So it's awesome to see her continuing her role as a sideline reporter, which is amazing. And then the hosts of the pregame and the halftime show, even the postgame, we got Kate Burness and Amy Audibert. Kate Burness has been around for as long as I can remember, maybe for the last 6 or 7 years. She's been on my TV screen as the host of SportsCenter here in Canada. And she's also been a sideline reporter for the Raptors as well. Um, and during like especially like during the full arenas and stuff like that, like she's always there, which is awesome. So she's gonna be there hosting the, like I said, the pregame, postgame, and halftime show. And Amy Audibert as well. Not a lot of people know about her, but she actually called a lot of the 905 games this year, which is awesome. I think it was like on radio or something. But she's also a women's head coach as well, I believe, in Canada. So, which is awesome. These 5 women are gonna do an amazing job this Wednesday, and this is something that is long overdue. This is definitely long overdue. We need to get women's voice in basketball and sports in general more. And the Raptors taking this, the first step is absolutely fantastic. Um, Hopefully, we get to see like more women on the call. Shout out to Doris Burke who does some calls as well for ESPN. Shout out to Sarah Kustek. I know she's like very popular out there in Brooklyn, and she's very good herself. But yeah, this is a historic night. I'm definitely gonna be watching all ears, all eyes on the screen. It's fantastic because it's something like I said, we need to like get more equality in terms of voices in sports. And just because they're women doesn't mean they don't know about it. And look, the NBA community, just sports can be extremely toxic sometimes, but hopefully we can come together, support these women, and let's just hope that it's an awesome, awesome, game, and hopefully it goes well. I really do hope so. But that's the good news in terms of the Raptors because, oh boy, the Raptors are on an 8-game losing streak right now, and the biggest news coming about the Raptors camp actually comes from Raptors reporter Michael Grange, and he said on a podcast this weekend that a trade for Norman Powell is inevitable. And if you guys don't know what that means, it means it's basically going to happen this week. And look, I mean, I talked about Norman Powell in the past and how he's been absolutely fantastic in the starting role. I mean, he continues to do well. I believe he's averaging over 22 points a game as a starter, which is absolutely crazy. And look, he's having a career year. He deserves a lot of love. But the Raptors are looking to trade him, which kind of makes sense. In my opinion, it kind of does because Norm Powell, if you haven't been following his career like the Raptors have, like Raptor fans have, he's been kind of up and down. But these last 2 seasons, he's been absolutely fantastic. Last year, like the only reason he didn't play more games is because of injury, but he still had a very, very good year last year. And I talked about it. If he didn't get injured, he might be a Sixth Man of the Year candidate, which wasn't the case. But he still had a good year, and he's building off that this year and is becoming even better and better. But with the Raptor situation right now, how they already have $85 million tied to Fred VanVleet, I believe it's 45 or 50 million tied into OG Anunoby over the next 3 years, and they just signed Siakam to a max. Do the Raptors really think that Norman Powell, at the age of 26 or 27, he's the age of 27 right now, is going to be part of their long-term future? And that is just something that the Raptors have to ask themselves. Like, do they want all this money tied into those 4 guys? And is that going to take you to the next level? And I think with the way he's playing right now and the fact that he's basically on an expiring deal because he's going to decline that $12 million player option this offseason. And he's going to be looking for somewhere probably north of 17, 18 million, possibly 20. And I don't think for the Raptors that's smart to tie in all that money into these 4 guys if they know, especially like I know that these 4 guys going to the future are just not going to be enough to take the Raptors to the next level. And look, Norman Powell, does he deserve the money? Probably. But if we're relying on him to be a number 3 or number 2 or number 3 option, especially with the inconsistencies of Siakam, VanVleet, and OG, that's just not going to be the case. And I think the Raptors understand that. And this is probably the best trade value he's going to get in his whole career. I'm sorry, but this is the best it's probably been. And I can understand the trade here. I mean, I love Norman Powell. Traded Gravis Vasquez for him straight up in the 2015 draft. He's had so many memories with the Raptors. But if the Raptors don't want to be mediocre over the next few years, they're going to have to make these tough decisions. And Norman Powell being a part of this team is just not going to take him to that next level because Masai knows that he, at least his model is just trying to build a championship contender. And tying all that money into Norman Powell is not going to do that for you. They either need to sign someone big in free agency or try to get one of those star guys in the draft. And it doesn't have to be this year. It could be next year. But at the same time, like I said, tying all your money basically in Norman Powell, Van Vliet, OG, and Siakam as your core is just not good enough. And I think Masai Ujiri understands that. And this trade is going to be more and more likely, especially because the Raptors are playing bad. Hopefully, Norman Powell, at least if we trade him, goes to a good team so he has, an opportunity to get another championship. But in terms of the Raptors right now, it's been a rough 2 weeks. I mean, ever since our game got postponed a couple weeks ago, we have been 0-8 since then, losing to the Cavaliers last night. We were down by 20-something in the third quarter because the Cleveland Cavaliers and Colin Sexton absolutely went off in that third quarter. And it's been a rough few weeks for the Raptors. Obviously, people are just coming back from the COVID stuff. But there are a lot of issues with the team as well. And I think this trade is going to be more and more likely if the Raptors lose tonight against the Rockets. And I think this is going to transition nicely into the next topic. The Rockets are bad. The Rockets are bad right now because they have become, I believe, the 8th team in NBA history to lose 20 straight in a single season. Yeah, it's rough out here for Houston fans. They haven't won a game since early February. And right now, we're in March 22nd. So that means this is what, a month and a half? A month and a half since they got a win. So yeah, it's gonna be it's been very, very rough for them. Christian Wood was out for the majority of that time. And, John Wall in and out the lineup, Victor Oladipo kind of on and off as well. They're missing Eric Gordon, the whole situation with PJ Tucker. It's just been a rough year for the Rockets. Been a rough year for Steven Silas. I mean, he got put into a toxic situation for his first year as a head coach. And you could see in his post-game yesterday, he was feeling all the feels, man. He was feeling it all. His hands were in his face. He was, face palming and all that. It's been rough for that team. It's been rough for him. And I'm expecting a fire sale soon. Speaking of last night's game, I mean, it looked like they were going to win it. But they just got outdoored. I mean, he got a game-winning block on them, and that's what led to their loss. But for the Rockets, they need to make changes. If they thought they were going to compete with this roster with an injury-prone John Wall, a Victor Oladipo who hasn't looked the same, it just wasn't going to happen. And I think I could see a massive fire still happening. I could see Eric Gordon getting traded. I could see Victor Oladipo getting traded. And just seeing them build around, a KPJ, Christian Wood future. Because if I look up and down our roster, those are the only two guys that I think are untouchable. John Wall is probably untouchable because no one's going to trade for that contract. But in terms of their young future, these are the guys you want to focus on. Because this stretch has been absolutely horrible for them. And they're just not going to be competing. I mean, the rough thing about this is that I think either the Thunder or the Warriors have their pick. Actually, I don't think so. I think they actually have their pick for this year. But they need to work towards the future, man. They tried doing this thing, trying to take a chance on Oladipo. That didn't work out. John Wall, that didn't work out. And they just got to move forward. I mean, Christian Wood is still putting up big numbers. He's still a fantastic NBA player. But he should be the guy that they're building a young core around. I mean, so far this year he's averaging 22 and 10. I think that's more you can ask for of the contract that they signed him to, which is like 3 years 50. So, 3 years 40. So they're good in that department. And then Kevin Porter Jr., someone who could do a bit of everything on the offensive end, has potential on the defensive end. Those are the guys they should be building around. And I think Rockets fans, if they're gonna embrace a tank, they want all of those old guys out of there. They want all of their older players out there. I mean, they got rid of PJ Tucker already. It's just time to move out these nice guys because, yeah, I mean it's been a rough season. It's just definitely been a rough season. There's some people who thought early on that the Rockets won this trade, and I think they'll win, but it's not a this season type win, you know. I mean, it's probably going to be something in the next few years. But I just hope they figure this out. I mean, it's been a rough season for Rockets fans. Let's see if they're going to be able to move forward. But yeah, those are all the topics from this weekend. Let me know down below what you guys think on the Rockets, the Raptors, so far, the Norman Powell trade, the all-woman broadcast. Like I said, you should definitely go check that out, or and stuff like that, or just any of the injuries. I mean, there's a lot happening this weekend, very very heavy, but we got into it. We're now going to be heading into the latter stages of the show. We have the my top 10, my power rankings for this week. Lots of changes. I think only one team actually moved out of the top 10 entirely, but we have a new team at number 10. Lots of movements throughout the rankings as well. So we're gonna go into it. We're gonna do this. We do this every week, so you know what time it is. It's time for TV's NBA Power Rankings. Let's go. We're starting off at number 10. We're going to be talking about the San Antonio Spurs. They're playing very good right now. They are still 7th in the West. They're only like 1.5 game behind the 5th seed. They're still playing really well. They still got a couple wins this week without DeMar DeRozan, who had to attend his father's funeral. Rest in peace to DeRozan's dad. But they're still playing very good. And although they haven't had like a marquee win this week, they're beating teams who they're supposed to be beating, which is good. And if they want to stay in this playoff spot, they're going to need to get those wins whenever they can. So good week for the Spurs. They're coming at number 10. And I think this is like the 5th or 6th or the 4th or 5th time that they've been like in and out of this top 10. So good job for the Spurs. Coming at number 9 may shock you, but I have the LA Clippers. They are 4-6 of their last 10. And I think what this stretch is telling us more than anything is that they're in desperate need of a point guard. And like I said last episode, George Hill will be on the block. Ricky Rubio will be on the block. You don't need a start position at the point guard. You just need someone who can distribute the ball, handle the ball late in games. And those two guys are reliable enough to do so. So they need to focus on getting a point guard to help that team. Because, yeah, it's just been a rough stretch for them. And I think that's gonna continue to show in the playoffs, especially with teams who have those closers. I mean, I'm not saying that the Clippers don't have a closer, but they just need someone to distribute the ball to Kawhi and PG, not have them control the ball all the time. So yeah, rough week for the Clippers. I have them at number 9. Coming in at number 8, we have the Portland Trailblazers. I would have put them over the Nuggets this week. I really would have. But last night's game against the Mavs, where they lost by 40, giving up 8 of 8 threes to Luka Doncic, 37 points in 3 quarters. It's a rough game. It was definitely a rough game for the Blazers yesterday. But the good news from this week is CJ McCollum came back, and he had a couple of great games this week. Hopefully they can get Nurkic back next week or the week after. But this Trailblazers team is getting healthy, and right now they're only 2.5 games or even 3.5 games away from the number 2 seed. So even if they go on a really good tear, maybe a 5 or 6 game winning streak, they can get home court advantage in the playoffs, which is going to be very very important for this team. Just try and make the road as easy as possible. And yeah, I mean, they still had a 3-1 week, but that loss to the Mavericks yesterday was a big yikes. But I still have it at number 8. I think they actually went up one spot from last week. Coming in at number 7, we have the Denver Nuggets. They've also been playing really well this week. Nikola Jokic still playing at an absolutely high level. My only problem with this team is that, look, I want Jokic to be in MVP discussions. I really do. But he's not going to win it if they are the 5th seed. So I think right now there's an opening right there, especially that they're like 3.5 games behind the 2nd seed. I mean, if they finish top 3 and Jokic has those numbers, I think it's very likely they're going to that he's going to win it. But they have to get there. So, and I think that has to do a lot with just getting some consistency of Jamal Murray. Hopefully making a trade at the deadline to kind of put them over the top. Maybe getting someone like a Victor Oladipo out of Houston to give them some more perimeter defense and maybe just extra shot creating. But yeah, I mean, they still had a good week. They got a good win over the Pacers. They got an overtime win over the Bulls on the weekend. But they also lost to the Dallas Mavericks this week. So yeah, 3-1 week. I mean, it wasn't as bad as the Blazers, but um, the Nuggets at number 7. Come on, Jabal. We need some consistency from you, please, please. Coming in at number 6, we have the Los Angeles Lakers. And look, they were actually the number 2 seed earlier on, but after that LeBron injury, they've lost the last 2 games. And he's going to miss a couple weeks, of course, like I mentioned earlier. But all they have to do right now, like I mentioned earlier, is just keep them afloat. Like, just keep your heads above water. Hopefully they can finish top 4 this year. But it's going to be tough, especially with with the Anthony Davis status still unknown. But yeah, it's going to be a rough next few weeks for the Lakers. Let's see what's going to happen. I mean, Dennis Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell, if they can squeeze in a couple wins here, that'd be great. But especially with, the teams they're facing, like their next game against the Pelicans, it's going to be tough to beat them without LeBron or AD. Same thing with the 76ers. Same thing with the Milwaukee Bucks later on in the month. So let's see if they're going to be able to keep their head above water. I have at number 6, the Lakers. Coming in at number 5, we have the number 2 team in the West. We have the Phoenix Suns. Very good week for them. Chris Paul, congratulations to him, by the way, reaching 10,000 assists yesterday. I think the 11th player in NBA history to do so. So congratulations to him. DeAndre Ayton had actually a very good offensive week this week as well. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games. They've been absolutely fantastic. Again, I mean, the type of jump that they made this year has been absolutely crazy. Let's hopefully they can bring it to the playoffs. And hopefully Chris Paul can stay healthy. I don't want to jinx anything. Because he has been absolutely fantastic this year. Let's hope he stays healthy and the Suns can put up a fight against some teams in the West. So at number 5, give me the Suns. Coming at number 4, we have the Milwaukee Bucks. And if you haven't noticed, they are climbing in the standings. They're only 2 games behind the 76ers. There is a window of opportunity for them to be the number 1 seed in the East once again. Giannis is playing out of his mind right now. And I know I didn't have a full segment on this, but Giannis, honestly, if they become the number 1 seed again, possibly the best record in the league, I mean, there's a chance he can three-peat as MVP. There is a chance. I mean, he honestly is becoming a better basketball player right before our very eyes. Right now, they're on a 6-game winning streak again. They're playing good, and I mean, we expect this from the Bucks. We definitely expect this, and all that really matters for them is what they're gonna do in the playoffs. But the good thing is they're making moves towards that. They brought in PJ Tucker, like I mentioned last week, and hopefully this could be the year for them. Because if it isn't a conference championship appearance, I think a lot of changes are gonna be made to this team. I think if they put up a really good fight in the Eastern Conference Finals, I think there's something that they can build off of going forward. And even if they make the finals, that is a massive, massive win for this team. They've come up short over the last 2 years. Hopefully this is the year. Hopefully Giannis can take this team to the promised land. He is playing absolutely fantastic right now. And that's why I have the Bucks at number 4. Coming in at number 3, we have the Utah Jazz. Struggled a little bit this week, but I think through interviews with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, they understand that this is kind of a reality check. I mean, they can't be playing so nonchalant because, as Rudy Gobert said in his interview, they haven't won anything. They haven't accomplished anything. Sure, they're the number 1 seed in the West right now, but none of that matters if you're not going to be able to produce in the playoffs. I think that's something that they're going to be really, really focused on. And I think they're going to try to be really, really focused. Because over these last, few weeks or so, they've kind of struggled, losing to teams like the New Orleans Pelicans, to the Golden State Warriors, but also getting some, decent wins against the Raptors. I mean, they lost to the Wizards this week as well, which is kind of rough. But I think the Jazz, if they stay focused, I think this is definitely a learning experience. But they're still the number 1 team in the West. They're still getting some quality wins. So I didn't have to drop them back too far, so I have them at number 3. Coming at number 2, this was tough. It was between 2 teams. But I'm gonna put this team at number 2. Keeping them, I believe this is the same as last week. I'm actually not 100% sure, but at number 2 we have the Brooklyn Nets, getting some quality wins this week. I know Kyrie Irving has been in and out of the lineup, but James Harden, man, James Harden. I talk about Giannis putting on an MVP case. I already talked about in the past how Harden has been fantastic. They beat the Wizards yesterday, but a rough loss to Orlando Magic this week, man. A rough loss that broke their winning streak. KD is still out with injury. He's going to be probably back hopefully in the next few weeks or so. But, good news for the Nets, throughout this week, because Blake Griffin came back from injury. He finally played his first game as a Net yesterday, and he dunked. and he dunked. So, yeah, that was really good for the Nets. Hopefully everyone can be healthy come playoff time. But yeah, they still had a pretty good week. Very good in the last 10 games. I have the Nets at number 2. Also, shout out to Kyrie because he's having a fantastic year as well. And then at number 1, I'm going to talk about the best team in the East right now, the Philadelphia 76ers. And the only reason why I put them over the Nets is because they're still getting these wins without Joel Embiid. And he has clearly been their most important, their best player so far this year. But they've still been getting these quality wins, over the New York Knicks twice this week, once yesterday, which kind of came with a little bit of controversy, but they still pulled out the win. Let me know down below. Was that a foul on Tobias Harris at the end or not? Let me know. They got a big win over the Kings, and they're still taking care of business. I mean, even the game that they lost this week against the Milwaukee Bucks was close, and they had some good control for the majority of the game. But if they could stay number 1 with Embiid out the lineup, that would be really good for them. They have some tough games coming up, against the Lakers, the Clippers, Golden State, Denver to close out the month. But with the way Tobias Harris has been playing right now, which has been absolutely fantastic, and the way that the team is still picking up the slack, I could see them getting maybe 2 or 3 wins here. I definitely see that as a possibility. And, they just continue to play well without Embiid. And I think that's the reason why I have them number 1 this week. Well, yeah, those are my power rankings. Let me know down below what you guys think. Agree or disagree? I would love to talk about it in the comment section of this, the Instagram channel, Instagram page. Shoot me a DM. It doesn't matter. But we're going to end today's episode off with the pick of the week. I learned my lesson. My lesson last week is never go with the Dallas Mavericks on the first night of a back-to-back, because they both got mollywapped by the Trailblazers, and I believe earlier on, it was against the Clippers. Yeah, and the funny thing is, on the second game, they absolutely destroyed both teams. So, yeah, I'm on a 2-game losing streak right now. I'm 13-12. I was 13-10. So rough week for me last week, but I'm here today, and I'm gonna be trying to go after another game. Hopefully, get myself back on track. And the game I want to be looking at is the Atlanta Hawks versus the LA Clippers. I mean, it's the Clippers are favored by -6, and what's interesting about this game is that the Atlanta Hawks are rolling. They're absolutely rolling right now. They're undefeated under Nick McMillan. But this is going to be the toughest task of the Hawks over these last few weeks as they go up against the Clippers. I mean, I mentioned earlier the Clippers are struggling, so they are pretty vulnerable right now. And the Hawks with +6, I gotta roll with the Hawks right now, with the way that they're playing. I will take the Hawks +6 in this game. Hopefully, Trae Young has a massive game, and they continue to play hard and continue on their momentum. I mean, even if they lose by 5 or 4. I still get the win here. So the line's pretty big, +6. I'm going to go with the Hawks to not only, go against the spread, I have them winning. But yeah, let me know down below who you guys have in this one. Are you going to take the Hawks +6? Clippers -6. Let me know down below. But I think this is where we're going to end today's episode. Thank you guys for watching or listening. Remember to show love on all the podcast channels. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell if you're on YouTube. Follow @TV on Basketball on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for awesome NBA content. And yeah, this week, obviously the trade deadline special. Hopefully we get some trades so we could talk a lot about that on Thursday or Friday. I think I should be recording it after the trade deadline happens. Thank you guys for all the support. Like I said, almost 2,600 downloads on the podcast. Thank you guys so much for all that. And I'm gonna with the NBA season starting to ramp up. I know everyone's talking about March Madness right now and the amount of upsets that's happening there as well. But there's the NBA season is gonna start to pick up. The trade deadline, and you know what that means. We're gonna be like 4 or 5 weeks away from the playoffs. So the NBA content is definitely gonna ramp up. These next few weeks are gonna be tough for me in school, but at the same time, I'm gonna still post the content. And I have some big things planned up for this summer because once my school ends, I'm gonna try my best to actually work a lot harder on this podcast. So yeah, thank you guys for all the support, and just hope you can take this journey with me. But yeah, hope you all have a fantastic day. TV signing out. Take it easy, guys.